had everything I needed and I didn't need no more than that. Oh no, here we go round again. I should have known better than to let you be more than a friend.
Non-stop rock talk with Tyson Bryden. Mitch Perry, welcome to Non-Stop Rock Talk again. It's really great to have you back. How are you doing, man?
Doing good. You know, we're just we're sitting here in sunny California, trying to figure out what we're going to do next with our new record, Music Box.
Yes. I have to admit that the longer this COVID situation keeps going, my skepticism towards it may never go away, but hopefully there'll be a light at the end of the tunnel. But for you as an artist and putting out new music, how have you dealt with that? I guess in some ways people have more time to focus on actually listening to new music.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. I mean, first off, we have to realize we don't have a choice in what we're dealing with, so you deal with it.
That's right.
And part of that is you can look at it and go, the glass is half empty or half full. I go, let's say it's half full. At least we've got people out there who are going to have time to look at things that they might not have looked at if they were busy going to, you know, Motley Crue, Def Leppard, and everybody else, whoever, you know
That's
what I mean? There's a lot more available attention. Hopefully we can get some of that. And as I said, we're sitting here trying to plot out the next steps with it, because where it would be a no-brainer going, hey, where are we playing next week? Yeah. We're not doing that. So we have to figure out different, you know, plans of attack. Like, you know, were we planning on shooting a new video every other month?
Yeah.
You know, no, we weren't. But that may be what we do rather than shows for the next 6 months.
That's
you know,
true.
I mean, on top of what we've already dealt with.
Right.
But, you know, like I said, it's just figuring out how we're going to have to adapt to it. And hopefully we can, since this is a brand new thing anyway to people, I would hope we could make the music familiar enough with them in the interim that by the time we're able to go out and play anywhere, they're fully familiar with our stuff and are anxious to hear it, hopefully.
Well, I mean, with that said, it's kind of, I think once we finally do get back to playing music, people are going to be going to see live shows. People are going to be pretty excited about it. I mean, it's going to be like, hopefully it's not a long time, but I mean, it seems like it could be almost up to a year. So by that point, I mean, when I get to go see my first show, I'm sure I'm going to be pumped, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, but, you know, when you say it could be a year, I mean, you know, it's not going to be like one day there were no shows and then the next day it was normal. I mean, we're going to see shows filtering in. I mean, you got, you know, my friend Chuck Wright and Quiet Riot flying out to a show.
That's true.
You know, we didn't think there would be anything this year. I know that we've with Sweet, I know that a bunch of shows were on the books that, you know, obviously with Steve's passing, we weren't going to do them, but you know, there were still things that we could have done, and you know, it will trickle back in, and it'll like water, it'll find its level. It will get back to working because, you know, people need music.
That's right. Now let's discuss your latest release off of your album Music Box, which is St. Valentine. I love the concept of the video. Those cartoon-like captions are really cool with the lyrics. Now, was that your concept? Did you come up with that?
You know, basically, we've been working with a guy, Ian Fisher, who did our EPK. He did the video for Believe, and he just did this video as well. And we've kind of been kicking around the idea of what we're going to do for St. Valentine. I mean, you know, there is a kind of tongue-in-cheek story, you know, about getting involved where you probably knew better.
Yeah.
than to do that. And I mean, so we could have gotten a little involved with the video, but with all the hurdles that you have to overcome to get anything done these days, and shoot permits and all that, and we're trying to figure out the easiest way to kind of get the band together, shoot a video. I didn't want it to be a COVID type of video where you saw 5 different iPhone things going on.
Yeah.
To that end, we also have people in the band who are concerned about, the mask situation and everything. So we had to really figure out the best way to get a video done. And Ian showed me the template. And, we figured, well, we could still put the band together for one quick shoot and use that template to kind of cross the bridge and make it half lyric video, half what you see. I mean, it's not exactly a lyric video, but it's not exactly a full video.
Right.
And it's lighthearted enough that I think it captures the fun of the song, the tongue-in-cheekness of it, without getting too ridiculous and without going too juvenile either.
That's right. I mean, I really like the song, to be honest with you. I was like, that's a really cool tune.
Yeah,
really
proud of this song. Proud of this is one that we wrote specifically for what it is. I mean, I didn't have something like this on the record, and so I actually wrote this on a plane. I was coming home from some shows I played in London, and I was thinking about the album, and I knew I wanted this type of song on it. So I got on my plane, and not on my plane, but on my plane flight, threw on the headphones, and I started hearing the groove, and started hearing, I mean, it was a gift from above. I wrote down, came up with a line that I liked that line, wrote it down. Boom. The rest it followed like I was taking dictation.
Really?
And literally, I wrote all the lyrics to that, all the changes, and the guitar solo on the plane. And I've still got the little recordings, like for that little intro line, I sang it into my phone, on the plane, and melody lines, I'd sing it into the phone, and I wrote down the chord changes on my notepad and in my iPad. And,
wow.
I got home, pulled out a guitar, and yeehaw, it all worked. I wasn't imagining things.
That's cool. I really actually like that solo a lot too. I was when I was watching the video, I was like really focusing on that solo because I thought it was really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, a nice simple solo, but I wasn't so worried about Guitar Hero stuff on this record. This was more about putting out the songs and getting that. Like I said, it's a style of music that I don't hear a lot of new stuff coming out in. I mean, there's a lot of great 80s bands still, pumping away some great stuff.
Yeah.
But I just don't hear that 70s classic rock.
No, you don't. No, I agree with you.
I really wanted to make that kind of record. And,
That's awesome. Now, I love that Les Paul that you're playing in the video. Looks like a guitar that has some serious road time on it.
Much like its owner, I've had it since it was brand new.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I got that guitar off the shelf in March of 1978.
Wow. That's a beauty. It's a beautiful guitar. What are what pickups are in that guitar?
Those are P90s.
That's what I
they're
thought.
Original, and I love them. I mean, I love the fat sound of a Les Paul. That for me is.
I agree.
Les Paul through a Marshall. I'm happy. The problem with Les Pauls for me, though, is if I don't like to get into the channel switching and amp switching. I like it to be more organic, and my hand and my body kind of work all the dynamics. The guitar's turned on one, it's cleaned up and it's low and it's quiet. I turn it up a little bit more. all the dynamics come out of that volume.
Yeah.
Knob. And with Les Pauls, you lose a lot of the ability to get clean. When you turn down the humbuckers, they're still pretty fat sounding, and they just don't get as crystal as like you might get out of a Strat or a single coil pickup.
Right.
And the P90s for me are the perfect jack of both, of all trades. I mean, they when you turn the volume down, the tone actually gets a little thinner, so it doesn't turn into this muddy mess, and you get a little bit more definition. I kind of hear a little bit more of the string with P90s than with a humbucker, where it's more, more preamp stage of the amp that comes through to me.
Yeah, I've never, as a guitar player myself, I've never played a Les Paul with P90s in it. It's always been the humbuckers, right? The PAFs.
I've loved them since. You remember a guitar player named Les Dudek?
No, I don't. No.
He played with the Allman Brothers for a while. And, he's had a couple of records at the end of the 70s. And Say No More, one of those records, he had a gold top with single coil with the
P90s.
P90s, and it's just the coolest looking guitar, and that's all I ever wanted to have since that album cover.
Oh, that's cool. Now I had to bring this up because as a guitar player, now this week has kind of been a whirlwind, and I think a lot of us are kind of looking forward to 2020 ending. But with that said, we lost another great this week in Eddie Van Halen, of course. I mean, I'm kind of still in shock about it. It was hard to believe. Did you ever get the chance to meet Edward?
Yeah, I've met him a couple of times. I mean, pretty quick each time. I never did any deep hangs or any of that, but it was an honor to get to say, I shook his hand, and I mean, he's as, I said on Facebook, it's like people will waste time debating who's the greatest, of all time at whatever, whether it's baseball, football, guitar playing, or, you name it. And truthfully, there's no way of quantifying that.
That's true.
Over different periods, over different genres. However, one thing it is absolutely safe to say is since Hendrix, for sure.
Yeah.
And Hendrix is basically the only guy who even comes close to Eddie in the terms of how much one person can affect and influence an entire generation of musicians. I mean, yeah, Hendrix was a game changer, but when Van Halen came around, rock and roll was a much bigger thing. And I mean, when he came out, it just, every living room felt it in America, as opposed to just the cool ones at the end of the 60s.
That's true. Yeah, you listen to Van Halen 1 and you try and compare it with anything that was coming out at that time. And I mean, guitar-wise and the songs and just everything that it had. I don't think there was anything that was out there even close to it.
No, and it was real. I mean, this was not, these weren't talented kids copying their idols. These were, guys who came along. I mean, you listen to the demos they did with Gene Simmons, and you realize nobody put Van Halen together except Van Halen.
That's right.
And that they did it. I mean, for my money, you had that first wave of hard rock bands, the Zeppelins and the Deep Purples and the Creams and all that. And I mean, everything that followed after, for my money, Van Halen's the one that America threw up there that you put with, could be Aerosmith too, and it could be Guns N' Roses, but those three bands are, our answer to that. And Van Halen, before any.
Yeah. and I totally agree. Now, interestingly enough, you did play with Dave Lee Roth briefly, I believe it was.
Yes.
That was after Steve Vai left, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I actually only did rehearsals with him, but yeah, it was neat to kind of get the call and go down and play the stuff. An interesting thing, you got to remember, I came out here to do my first record in 1980. So at that point, even though I'm still like totally blown away and wishing I had a clue how to play a guitar like Eddie Van Halen,
right,
I'm now not trying to learn cover songs. I'm trying to forge my own way on the guitar. So it was weird that even though I'm a huge Eddie Van Halen fan, I didn't know every song.
Wow.
So when I'd learned the first record, and, probably not to the level that, people do things nowadays, but, I had an idea of what was going on. When it came time to play with him, I had to learn all of Van Halen, the Van Halen portion and the Steve Vai portion, because they'd obviously already had Skyscraper and a little way to Out. Steve Vai is another phenomenal, amazing guitar player. It was just so much more difficult to capture the essence of Ed when you're trying to play those songs than it was to do what Steve did. Not that, Steve's wasn't brilliant and great in its own way, but it was clever and how it was orchestrated. If you knew music theory, you could figure out what was going on. But no amount of music theory is going to save you from trying to figure out how to make Hot for Teacher sound like Hot for Teacher. More importantly, make it feel the way it does. Yeah. It's great and good and all the notes and all the tricks that Eddie's putting into everything. But at the end of the day, what gets lost is the fact that he's doing that, but with such pocket, with such finesse, and with such groove, with such command of the instrument, that you take this stuff for granted. But it's on another level.
Yeah, it's funny that you mention that because my daughter's 19 and her boyfriend is the same age. And last night we were in this living room and I said, how much Van Halen have you listened to? And he's like, well, not, he knew the hits. So I put on Fair Warning and I put on Mean Street. And I said, you got to check out this intro because you're not going to believe what he does on this because this is just, it's over the top. It's just insane. And he was just like, he just sat there and was like, holy cow. So.
I remember. I was the same. I was the same kid the first time I heard it.
Yeah, and it's and to this day when I listen to it, I still go, man, like it's one thing to play it, but he came up with it too. You know what I mean?
If you remember back in those days, we were all knocked off our horse by Eruption. Nobody expected that.
That's right.
But the thing was, he managed to come up with stuff, on each album. There was a new trick, whether it's Cathedral or Little Guitars or, whatever. There was always something really, really cool.
Yeah.
And always to another level. He was always expanding, never falling back on the same stuff,
Yeah, and even when he started to dive into the keyboards and the sound of what he was playing on the keyboards was different than what everybody else was doing. It was just a whole different thing, right?
Yeah, no, he was obviously someone who marched to the beat of his own drummer, and thank God he did.
Yeah, exactly. Now that's funny. I mean, we're talking about Eddie's playing and you having to learn that. Now, I remember reading an article when you had done the Bobby Blotzer's Rat thing and about learning Warren's stuff. And that was, Warren's one of my favorite players as well, besides Eddie Van Halen. So when I listen to his stuff, and I always find that the solos are unorthodox because they're almost like he's not even playing to the music sometimes. It's like he's off in his own little world to the song.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely brilliant. So don't misunderstand me when I say this. Now it's funny. Some of what I said in that interview, so many, I won't name names, but some of the cheap sites, will misconstrue. I went or misrepresent what I said, which is I hated having to learn this stuff because I love listening to it so much, but it's just so diametrically opposed to where my instincts lie. That's not a right or wrong, good or bad. It's just different. One's red, one's blue, whatever. It was just it was really hard to not to learn it and play it. But, that I try to explain music as being two things. I go, if you get me a script to Gone with the Wind and I memorize all of Clark Gable's lines and I know where he comes in and I know where he shuts up, does that mean I'm an actor? It doesn't. I got to learn how to act, right?
That's right.
It's the same thing about playing music. Just because you know how to play the song, you know where the licks are, and you can play them, well, great. You're now in the party, but, you're now in the race. But you still got to win it. You got to perform it. You got to play it. And that was the hard part, was really making myself feel like I own those things when I played them. It just was different. And to that end, as much as I love Eddie Van Halen, I usually pass the Eddie songs. I do the Ultimate Jam at the Whiskey A Go Go.
Yeah.
And we're always learning new cover stuff. And when I have to learn a bunch of Van Halen stuff, there are guys who will learn it far better than I will at this point, because there's just so much to it. I don't like to do it anything less than 100%. And, unless you're going to really go in and take up a great course on impersonation, there's no way to play an Eddie song and make it sound right.
No, and that's true. I mean, like you said, the feeling and what he just did it so naturally, and what he put into it. And then that, how they've always said, like, certain other guitar players have plugged into his rig and it didn't sound the same. It was all his finger.
Oh, I've been fortunate enough to experience that real time, not with Eddie. Mm-hmm. Although actually with Eddie, because I did see him warm up backstage before a show, and he was playing through a little Fender Champ or something, I forget. And, but the little practice amp sounded exactly like the wall of Marshalls that we listened to, a few minutes later. And it was definitely his hands. But where I really, really, one of the biggest lessons I took out of playing alongside Michael Schenker is what we would share a practice amp before we would play a show. The guitar room had one amp in it, so we wouldn't be, playing over each other.
Yeah.
And Michael would go in and he'd warm up for a bit, and then I'd plug in and, get my warm-ups, and we'd go play. And, man, his guitar always sounded so much better than mine.
Really?
And I'm like, one day I walk in, and there's the, black and white V against the wall. Yeah. No Michael around. I go, oh, cool. But I put my guitar down, pick it up, hit a chord. Dude, my guitar sounded twice as good as his guitar. That was not the difference. The difference was all in the hands.
In the hands, yeah.
And the amp that I'm talking about is one of those little Gallien-Krugers, which was so compressed. Basically, you could plug anything into it; it's going to sound the same.
Yeah.
The difference was still huge through this thing. And at that point, I realized it's what you put into, to the attack of the guitar with the string. I mean, it's everything, but it gets to where, I mean, I realized that when I had some sciatic problems, I play guitar with my whole body. I mean, we're only playing with our fingers and our hands, but when I'm standing up there and playing, I'm feeling it through my whole body. My body's moving with the music. And if that gets cut off, that it's not a good thing. You know, you don't want to eliminate that connection. And yeah,
That's cool. Now, I wanted to talk about Sweet. I mean, you did. Unfortunately, Steve Priest passed away back in June. And I loved that band, especially Desolation Boulevard. I mean, I have a vinyl copy of it, and I remember the first time I got it, and I had always thought that Andy Scott's playing was just. I always thought he was kind of underrated, that people never really talked about him. And there's stuff on that album. I listened to it and I go, "Holy cow, man! This guy was like, he was amazing."
absolutely agreed.
Yeah. So.
Right.
Oh, no. Go ahead, Mitch. Sorry.
No, I'll tell you. Out of every band I've been fortunate enough to play with, my favorite set list from top to bottom has been the Sweet set list. I love the songs more than any collection of songs from any other bands I played with. And it's really weird. Okay, going back to talking about learning Warren's parts.
Right.
When I'm learning it, I'm getting halfway through the song and I'm putting the guitar down going, I need a break.
Yeah.
This is work.
Yeah.
When I'm learning the Sweet stuff, it's like relearning stuff I wrote. And now I don't mean that to infer that I'm a writer like that. I don't, on that level, what they did was phenomenal. But what I mean is what I was playing just felt so natural. I didn't have to think twice about why or how he did it.
Gotcha.
It felt like it was created for me.
Yeah.
It was just natural. And to that extent, if you know the music really well, you know, when I play the Sweet shows, I'm pretty true to form of what's there, but I also put my own stuff in.
Right.
And I'm fortunate enough to get away with doing that because it doesn't sound out of place.
Yeah.
Because I think the DNA of my influences must be similar. That's all I could think. But, ultimately, it all goes back to the stuff that Andy put down on those songs. Was such great stuff. You've already got the template, for what it should be. I mean, he's as good as they come. Yeah,
and it's funny because, when you think about it, there's a ton of, not a ton, but a bunch of artists have covered Sweet songs, like, Def Leppard, and Steve Stevens did Action. Oh, and Black and Blue, they did Action as well. So that song's been covered 3 times by 3 different artists, and that's just such a cool song. And Dave Ellefson has a new covers album coming out, and he did a cover of Sweet FA on it. And I'm pretty pumped to hear that. And, Vince Neil's done, he did Set Me Free years ago. So, I mean, it's funny when you hear it again, it's almost, when you hear someone else do it, it actually still sounds fresh. And when I put it on, I'm like, you know what? This album's it's timeless. That music seems very timeless.
Absolutely. I mean, you're going to get that out of any music that is that sets the standards. Rather, for music that adheres to it, it is going to stay fresh because that's what it was when it was new. Yeah. I mean, you could have, once you're just another
emulating
one of many, you kind of blend into everything, and you get that 1980, 1985 thing when you hear the song. But the truly groundbreaking stuff, I mean, it takes you right back to that moment, and that moment there was nothing fresher.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, that must have been, like you said, that was one of your favorite. Every song was one of your favorite gigs, and I can see why, because the catalog is so good.
It's deep. It is deep. And that's the thing is, because it's so deep, we could change out songs, or we could pull out. You weren't stuck to the same old hits to play everything good. I mean, you could go to obscure songs that people didn't know, and I mean, my favorite song, not that people, it was totally obscure, but you don't hear about Set Me Free the same way you do with Ballroom Blitz
or Fox on the Run.
But I'll tell you, when I want to go and, when I'm playing guitar on Sundays and I want to, play a fast up-tempo rock tune that blows your head away, I mean, Set Me Free is up there with anything, any Highway Star or anything you can come up with.
And it stacks up beside those songs. Like, it's one of those really, for what Sweet was, like, as an English glam band, Ballroom Blitz is the big song. But, I mean, those album cuts, like you say, were just so in your face and really hard rock, right?
No, man, and go and check out, David Bowie. See where he got Gene Genie from.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Blockbuster was on the charts while Sweet was rehearsing next to David Bowie.
Wow. That's very cool. Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Now, another intriguing point in your career was playing with Talas and being Canadian and being from Toronto. That band, you guys, Talas, played a lot here. And I've always been a Billy Sheehan fan, of course. How did you initially get that gig?
I had replaced Yngwie Malmsteen, the Steeler.
Yep.
And I did that immediately after recording a demo with Randy Castillo and Ralph Morman, the singer from the Joe Perry Project, who wrote Let the Music Do the Talking. Yeah. That band was called Dutch Courage, and our demo was really badass. Oh. I gave a copy of that demo to a writer named John Sutherland, who I met at one of the Steeler shows. John was a good friend of Billy's, and he passed the demo on to Billy, who called me up and says, "You want to move to Buffalo and join Talas?" And man, the week before he had made that call, somebody had played me the first Talas record, and I'm listening to the bass solo, and going, "Oh my God, who's this guy? I got to play with him." So, I moved to Buffalo in November of '83, and that's how it happened.
Wow. And actually, I was going to ask you about your initial reaction to hearing Billy Sheehan, because, I mean, Billy Sheehan wasn't your normal bass player. I mean...
No, Billy took that instrument to new levels, and he was doing it back then before, people outside of the Buffalo area had gotten to know about it. He's owned that thing for a long time.
Yeah, that's funny that I wasn't aware of him. I was a kid when Eat 'Em and Smile with Dave Lee Roth came out, so I wasn't aware of him until then, right? And just listening to that band for the first time, it just blew you away. But then going back and getting the Talas stuff because of him being with Roth and Mr. Big, and listening to that stuff and going, wow, he was doing this long before that, and hearing Talas do Shy Boy and and then it ends up on the Roth album, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, this is so different, but this is so cool. so that's awesome. Well, Mitch, I want to thank you again for joining me. It was a pleasure again, and I love hearing you tell all the stories about your illustrious career.
Yeah. It's a pleasure. Anytime you'd like, just give a shout.
Okay, Mitch. Well, you have a great night, and the best of luck with the album, and it's been out for a while, right?
Well, it's been out being. I've been telling people about it on the internet since about April. Yeah. But as I said, I'm looking at this as a really long, extended release time, and once we can go out and play, then I'm going to start officially looking at the album as being out. I mean, I'm not going to let this thing come and go without going out and playing it. So, however long it takes. But the thing is, I feel, too, the music on there is strong enough that it justifies doing that. We can keep putting out a song at a time, then there will be stuff worth listening to, 4 or 5, 6 songs into it.
which I think is a really cool way to do it. It's keeping, it's giving the album legs too. And, in this time, it's honestly probably, maybe if this hadn't happened, you wouldn't have thought of doing it that way.
No, exactly. And once again, you can go half full or half empty. I look at it as going, the kind of record we happen to put together. I mean, I very purposely, when it came to making this record, I wanted to make a record where you didn't hear the one or two or the three good songs and feel you'd heard everything the album had to offer.
Yeah.
Now, that also doesn't mean writing 10 quote-unquote singles.
Yeah.
An album is a journey, and it's got to have peaks and valleys and hairpin turns and long windy bends and long straightaways. It's got to have everything, to keep it interesting.
Yeah.
And so to that end, I tried to do that with all the songs I want. I didn't want there to be any throwaway, any filler, and even if the song's not the kind of song, St. Valentine, you go, hey, they want to be on the radio with that song.
Yeah.
Not every song is like that, but every song quality-wise is like that. And there's a reason and a story, or there's definite reason to pay attention to each and every one of the songs. And, I wanted it to be, again, a record that you could put headphones on and want to listen to from start to finish, and almost feel like incomplete if you didn't hear all the songs. I used to have to hear my favorite albums from top to bottom. And I wanted this to be that, not for any specific reason, but I think that will behoove us in a time like this where we got to keep telling people about the album, long past and have gotten tired of hearing about it.
That's so true. Well, that's, from what I've heard of it, I've really enjoyed it. So, I have to dive into it a little bit more, to be honest with you. I wasn't.
Please do. I promise you won't be disappointed. And that goes for all you listeners out there. Get to MitchPerry.com and give the album a listen. Check it out on YouTube. We got our own channel there and all that. But everything's up, so you can get a chance to check it all out. And if you give it a listen, if you give it a shot, I think we'll wind up hearing from you.
That's awesome. Okay, Mitch. Well, you have a great night, and hopefully we'll talk again.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. And, you take care. And,
you too, Mitch.
Talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Now we face all